Welcome back, guys. We're continuing on with these Mechabellum 1v1 replays, and we have another unique-ish game where I'm going for Rhino Specialist. So, if you're going for Rhino Specialist, you really need to set up on the front line. I've tried setting up on the front line with many different strategies, and the only one that really succeeds is Rhino Specialist. Or not Specialist, but Rhinos. If you set up on the front line with anything else in mind, any other strategy in mind, it usually fails miserably. Because if you put giants on the front line, they'll just use acid crawlers, which will just melt the giants immediately, and it only costs them 300 supply to melt a giant. So that renders frontline giants useless. And if you put smaller units on the front line, they'll either use rockets or a Vulcan, which will just melt your frontline units. So basically, a frontline strat won't succeed unless you're using rhinos. That's what I've come to deduct or deduce. So, obviously I've got Rhino Specialist with sledgehammers, crawlers, and I'm bringing in 2 snipers. They've got phoenixes with fangs. Now, it didn't look like they spent any supply there. They just had the starting units. So, let's have a look, see what their specialist is. Aerial Specialist. Maybe they're planning on going for an early giant. Yeah, they've not added anything. So they're obviously saving their supply for something. Did they put the tower upgrades on? No, didn't put the tower upgrades on either, so they didn't spend any supply in that first turn. They've gone for Strike Specialist, so it looks like that's what their plan was. Save up the supply to go for an epic flank. So, as expected, when you set up on the front line, they bring in a Vulcan. But this was part of my baiting strategy. So all of these units here are simply bait. They aren't intended to actually succeed or really do anything. They're simply here to bait the opponent into bringing in a giant. Because the only giant that is good against the Rhino is the melting point. The Overlord is good as well, actually, sorry. Then again, so's the Fortress. Sorry, ignore me. They're just really expensive. They're an expensive counter to a Rhino, which is half the price. So baiting them into getting giants is a really good thing. So even with my strategy that was a bait, it's looking like I'm still going to win the round. Which is pretty crazy to me because I had no intentions of being able to win with my current setup. But what I've done is I've put wasps on the front line. And the whole point of putting wasps on the front line is so I can put the rhino behind and a rocket won't hit the rhino. It'll hit the wasps. Now, deployment module is here, which if you put it on a unit, you can basically move that unit every turn, which is crazy. But it does mean that you can't put another item on, which is why it took me a while to decide if I wanted to use it. But I thought, what better than a rhino that can move wherever the hell it wants. So I'm trying to decide where best to put it. I thought I'm not going to put it behind the wasp straight away because that will kind of give away my strategy. And also they've got fang coverage here. But there's a nice little gap here. So I decide to put the Rhino on this far left. He's going for an incendiary bomb, which is going to kill most of my units here. But most of them would have died anyway to the Vulcan. But it is going to kill the snipers, which is a problem. So I'm bringing in a couple more crawlers just to distract the enemy, really. Obviously, bringing in crawlers when there's a Vulcan out is a strange decision. So, for some random reason, I changed my... Oh, I know why. So, I decided to change my mind where to put the Rhino. Because I didn't want to show my hand, basically. Because I wanted Mobile Beacon to come behind here and go for the tower. But I couldn't afford the Mobile Beacon. So, rather than show my hand, I decided to move the Rhino into a position where it's not obvious what I'm going to do next turn. So that was the point of moving the Rhino. So the Rhino did a fantastic job taking out the Vulcan. It's also doing a good job tanking the Phoenix shots, but unfortunately this shield is going to save the day for them. But he used an ability there, so he spent 100 supply on that ability. Okay, next up, Acid Blast is here, which is potentially going to be used against me. That lasts for 2 turns, so it's a devastating ability to be used against you. And Supply Specialist is what I decide to go for. So does he, actually. So Supply Specialist is obviously a long-term strategy. And now I decide to move the Rhino and do what I was going to do on the previous turn. Because, as you see, he's now put the Vulcan where the Rhino was. That was the reason that I put it there, rather than leaving it here. And I can now bypass the Vulcan. Hopefully, I've bypassed enough for him to not actually start hitting him. But there's a chance he'll survive anyway. So I've put Photon Coating on the Rhino, just to keep him alive a bit longer. And I've brought in 3 more Rhinos. So we're going to be going for an epic 4-pronged assault on the towers. 1 on either corner. This one here is obviously the main one. And then 1 here to threaten this tower. So we're going for a full-on Rhino game. And it's the only strategy that works on the front line. But it does work incredibly well. Rhinos are very tanky units when they've got Photon Coating on them. Now this Rhino's not going to make it, but he did distract these Phoenixes, which enabled this Rhino to actually get in. So this Rhino's now taken out this tower, this Rhino's taken out the Vulcan, Snipers took out the middle Vulcan, Snipers are still alive to be able to take out the air units. I've got Wasps that can deal with air units. So things are working really well at the moment. Sniper's just about managing to take out a load of Phoenix on his own. And the Wasps are going to come up and clear up. We even managed to take him out before he killed the Rhino, which was good. So, junior manufacturing is really good, but it takes a while to get going. Deployment Specialist is instant and really good. Being able to bring in an additional unit each turn can be devastating to deal with. So let's see what I decide to do next. So the Rhino that was here, that's got the item, I've moved him over to this side. And it looks like I might go for a flank around the back. Let's have a look. So I've put shields on the Wasps so they stay alive twice as long. They can also tank 2 shots from a Phoenix. So shield is a really good ability. Looks like I'm deciding to use the mobile beacon on a flanking giant rhino, but I think I've changed my mind. And yeah, I am going to use the mobile beacon to bypass these fangs, apparently. So I'm just leveling up, and I'm bringing in some more wasps. So I'm bringing in the wasps over on the flanks to cover for the rhino. That way, if they try to use rockets to slow me down, the rockets will hit the wasps and not the rhino. And this flank has not gone very well. They brought in a flank of their own. They brought in a wasp flank, which has taken out one of my towers. They're heading towards the other tower, but we've managed to take out one of their towers now, and we're close to taking out one of the others. That rhino managed to get one hit in before he died. Let's hope we can take out this Vulcan before this tower goes down. Ooh, it's close, but unfortunately not. So it's a very close round. I've got a tower taken down now. And unfortunately, all my wasps targeted the Vulcan. If they'd have targeted their wasps, then I wouldn't have received much damage. But sadly, I received a ton of damage. So it's just a bit unfortunate that they targeted the wrong enemy. So incredibly close round, but now I know that they're flanking, I'll be able to protect the flanks, and hopefully the next round won't be so close. So they're going for an underground threat, so am I. Now, it's pretty obvious because they've just gone for a flank that they're going to use the underground threat and go for a triple pronged flank. That would just be the obvious thing to do. So now I know to protect triple pronged. I'm bringing in underground threat, which is going to threaten the towers, distract the Vulcan, and distract the phoenixes. So let's see if I move my rhino. So yeah, as expected, he's brought in that. So I've brought in a triple pronged defense, and level 2 Mustangs are going to annihilate anything that comes in, basically. So I've leveled up the rhino, but it doesn't... Oh, there we go, just moved him. So I am still moving him. So this module has been a real pain in the arse for him to figure out where I'm attacking from. So I'm leveling up the wasps. They are my main damage dealer at the moment. And it looks like I'm going to make it to the tower. The crawler's actually made it to the tower. That rhino died, unfortunately. But we've taken out 2 Vulcans. We were about to take out another tower. The flank was thwarted, and we survived with quite a lot of troops, so we scored a lot of damage. So he's going for an Ion Blast. Now so am I as well, but his Ion Blast is going to be difficult to aim, where my Ion Blast is going to be easy to aim because I'm shooting at giants. Yeah, I'm not sure if his Ion Blast is actually going to do much. So, what do I decide to do here? Leveling up the snipers. I haven't spent any cash yet. So, he's putting his there. Like I say, it's going to be very difficult for him to aim. So I've put heal field maintenance on the sledges to keep the Vulcans occupied a bit longer. He's bringing in an Overlord. And I'm bringing in some Wasps, so I didn't really do much on that turn. Just leveled up the existing units, brought in a squad of Wasps, and put field maintenance on the sledges. So I brought in the Wasps at the perfect time to cover the Rhino. So if it wasn't for that, the Rhino would have got thwarted. And my Ion Blast, sorry, did devastating damage, and his didn't really do much at all. But things are looking a bit sketchy for me here because of the Overlords. Now, there's a chance that the sniper might save the day. Looks like he is going to. So the snipers and Wasps managed to save the day there. So it's a very close round though. He's going for Barrier. So Lightning Storm isn't really beneficial for me because I'm the one that's running into the fight. So I'd basically be hitting myself if I took Lightning Storm. So I decide to skip. Now it still might have been a good idea to plop it on top of these, but it would have just killed my own Wasps, Crawlers and done damage and slowed down the Rhino, so it didn't make sense. So I'm moving the Rhino again, being a real pain in the arse. I see a bigger gap here than here, so I decide to move him here. And we are going to try and slot through this gap, get to the tower. It's incredibly difficult to defend against a Rhino that can move every turn. He can always seem to find a gap. And I've gone for field maintenance on the Rhinos, so that's going to keep the Rhinos alive a lot longer. Keep the opponent busy targeting Rhinos while the Wasps and Mustangs deal all the damage. I decide to bring in a couple of Phoenixes to help deal with the Overlords. So as you can see here, the field maintenance is keeping this Rhino alive for so long, because any damage that's being done to him is being healed almost immediately. So yeah, champion Rhino tanking all the damage, while all the units, look at them, even these level 2 Rhinos, just tanking all the damage. Devastating attack. So taking that field maintenance on the Rhino really made the round one-sided. And there we go, that is the front line Rhino push. Now like I say, I've tried many different strategies on the front line and none of them work apart from a Rhino push. So I've probably got quite a few replays where I fail, or some that where I succeed because the opponent doesn't do the correct counter. But this is the only viable frontline attack, in my opinion, going for rhinos. So I'm not 100% sure if crawlers on the front line is entirely necessary. I suppose it does distract them a little bit, because a wasp front line would obviously be the better solution. But it's a lot more expensive, double the cost. And you don't start off the game with wasps. So you would end up maybe having a sledge sniper start would work quite well. Put sledges on the front line with snipers behind, and then start to add wasps in. Yeah, so maybe forget about the crawlers. Just put sledge here, 3 snipers behind, and then, I mean, you could bring in a couple of crawlers. Not sure though. Not sure about the crawler strat. Just trying to think what other units would work, because arc lights wouldn't work. So I think it is just sledge. Fangs might work. Yeah, fangs could potentially work. But really, what you want is wasps, so you can put rhinos behind wasps, so they can't rocket the rhinos. But I suppose the one good thing about having crawlers on the front line is the enemy shoot the crawlers rather than your wasps. Not sure. I'd have to retry this strategy a few times to see what the best starting build would be. But obviously Mustangs are a good starting unit, but really you want them on the flanks, so no, Mustangs wouldn't be a good starting unit for this. So I think it is a sledge sniper start, basically. And it's the unconventional sledge sniper start, because most people use sledge snipers at the back. So this would catch people off guard if you went for a frontline sledge sniper. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. When I get sledge snipers, I'll go for rhinos. Obviously you don't start off with a level 2 rhino, and you might not get this deployment module, so things would end up being a bit different, but I'm wondering as well, where would be the best place to put the rhinos? If I put the rhino here instead of here, then I can use the mobile beacon to move up here and then this way to bypass anything that they put in front of me. I could put a rhino maybe here, so I could go that way or that way with a mobile beacon. So here and here, and then here as well. So the one here can decide to go this way or that way, and then that would require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rhinos to do that. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility. It's definitely something to think about. So I'd need to save a space here for a rhino to fit in, and then I'd need to save spaces in front of the towers for rhinos to fit in. So maybe that is the best place to put the wasps then. One in front of the tower on either side, and one smack bang in the middle. Although this one in the middle might not be necessary. But anyway, that is the Rhino strat. Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers for watching, take care, and I shall see you in the next one.